Yeah, I'm taking a break. Are you with me still? All right, I guess. It's time to go to work. Okay, come on. Let's do it. So, remember, when you're doing glass, it comes with paper on the bottom. Always make sure the paper's on the bottom. When you put it on your table, staple the perimeter, pull it tight so you can trace. Use chalk or a pencil or whatever you want to use. A permanent marker works too because you're dragging the edge and you're cutting on the inside, so it's not a big deal. You see that this is the second half of the video. I kept the paper on the bottom so it helps me slide my piece while I sew it. You with me? Here we go, going. As my buddy Joe always says. Here we go, going. So, always remember, when you're at this stage, if you're sewing on this particular machine, the GC1541S has a foot raise of 6 3/4. Now, if you'll look here, watch. As I turn this, see that foot go down? There's bendy, but they're not out of reach. Okay. When you sew, you have to make sure that your tension is right. You have to make sure that your foot height is correct. If you're sewing something real thin like this, you never want to rock anything. A standard is a 3, okay? But on this, I would go, I don't know, 3.5. In between 3 and 4 on the Thor GC1541S. It will affect your stitch count, which is right here, okay? 3 through 9. If this foot is up high, it's going to change because the amount of salvage, if you will, underneath the foot is, it will change the length of your stitch count. Okay, now notice here. I don't know if you can see that. This is better probably. But on this particular machine, that is like a 2.5. It's how far the needle travels each time. So these are imperative things. Know your machine. Know your machine, okay? Make sure that your machine is threaded correctly. Your tensioners. If you're sewing with foam, vinyl, whatever, know your thickness. Take a practice piece and run it through your machine before you ever start a project. Ever, ever, ever. Is that aggressive? I know that was. So, I mean, it's important because you can. This stuff's expensive, and you will ruin it. So I've done enough scaring, but my motto is, "It's just a seat." That's my new motto. It's just a seat. You know, when you're doing something, you get all stressed out and oh God, it's a seat or it's a window. Stop, relax, analyze. What are you doing? You know, and you know, measure 5 times and cut once. So right when you're about ready to manipulate this piece, whether you're sewing it or gluing it or cutting it out, stop and take a minute, walk around the shop, and come back. I call on the Holy Ghost. He gives me problem-solving skills and wisdom. I love my King. Jesus Christos. So, moving on. Actually, Hebrews was a really good reading today. But you have to be mindful of what you do here because your materials are crazy expensive and they're getting worse. So this is an approach for how you start to sew what we just cut out. If you'll notice, I've kept my paper on the bottom. Keep it on the bottom as long as you can. In this particular instance, we're keeping the frame. Remember, we're keeping the frame. And we're cutting this glass out in the end. But we want to keep it intact until we cut that glass out. And how we do that is we sew the perimeter first. And then come back in and cut the remainder out. If you recall in the first video, you see how I did that relief here? Remember how this was sun-baked and it shrank up? And the customer was telling me about how he was having such difficulty in setting his snaps. Well, we adjusted, and I showed you how to do that. And I'm writing that. You see that? That's right there. We cut it out. Notice over here. Remember, we were just there. I took a razor blade and followed around the perimeter and took my paper with me. This comes with you when you buy it. It's rolled up in reverse. Things like this. Upholstery is prep. Anything you do, it's prep. Upholstery, in its finality, is 20 minutes, 15 minutes, sometimes you're done. To upholster, staple, or once it's done, it's different. It's prep, but this particular instance is just a window glass replacement. But this is really, there's a trick. So that's what I'm trying to do. Remember in the last video, I told you that he wanted to salvage this. Because this would have cost him, I'm not going to tell you what I charged him, because that would be rude. But for me to make this, it would have cost him twice as much. Literally twice as much. And what he's paying right now is a lot. But one journeyman, there's no novices around here. I have no boys working for me, because our illustrious government isn't allowing that to happen. Boy, things are changing. So moving on, I'm alone. And these are corners that you want to share with the consumer, the customer. Okay? If you can love them up. Like he wanted to replace this, and I go, no, let's just get some degreaser and clean it up. And that looks pretty awesome. I would rock that on my boat. So these things, you'll always have a job. You will always have a good name. That's everything. And Jesus, of course, too. Come on, work with me. So this is the stratagem that we face now. The machine. This video changes. It goes from cutting things out, proper layout, okay? And come on in, Kurt. We're making a video. Get him on the camera. This is my buddy, Kurt.
You don't want me on.
He comes over here to annoy me.
Yeah.
I love you, Kurt. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. This is mom and pops. So, where was I at? The machine. So once you do your cutout, and I showed you the proper way to put your glass down and salvage this. You clean it, you take the buttons off. You cut it as a whole. You do your relief cuts with the adjustments because of the shrinkage from the sun. Once you do so, you have a perfect perimeter. You sew the perimeter. Then you cut out the old glass, and not until. This is the key to this. If you want to do these windows, you have to relief cut them as you anchor the actual foundation to what you're taking them off of. I know that sounds like some Einstein stuff, but it's not that big of a deal. You got to anchor it in first and then take the window out, okay? But you'll have enough cup to cut it to where it won't show. And you can keep this and save yourself, I'd say $1,500. And buttons, standard buttons are, I charge $11 a button. So I can come to your boat and remove your old, if they're broken or whatever, or they're just gone, and replace them. $11 a piece. There is 28 of them. That's a couple dollars. So back to the sewing machine. This isn't a quick video, I'm sorry. You have a foot, okay? This is a walking foot. This is an industrial sewing machine. I do not know if you have one. If you do, you have to adjust them accordingly to the thickness of your measure, which is what you're sewing. We've already did a video on hook and loop, how to wind your bobbin on the machine. I've shown you all of that. This is, I would say, probably, I liken it to the ounce. This is a 1 ounce sew. So a 1 ounce sew is never more than 3.5 on the Thor GC1541S. Make sure when you're doing any kind of marine upholstery, you have a UV resistant thread that is no less than a Tech 90. Do not compromise. Ask these questions. Even if you're just watching this video, just so you know what to say to someone when you walk in, so you don't, you're not being taken advantage of or feel that you are. Very imperative. What thread are you using? Huge. Huge. And I got it. It's huge. A thread is huge. What are you using on my boat? Okay. So we've chosen 3.5. Okay. We have a full bobbin. Always make sure you have a full bobbin when you're doing top stitch. And this is the old stitch. Okay. Like I said, we are keeping what we have. He wanted to keep this. I convinced him into keeping this because it is not, it's not compromised. So I'm going to follow this stitch all the way around. When you run into perimeters like this, you want to just run over them, okay? Normally, when you make this, you stop, you do this piece first, and then this piece lays on second, and it is hid under that margin. Well, in this instance, we're going to run over that, and the ones that exist, we're not going to take them off because we want that for integrity when we go to put our new snaps in, okay? Anybody that does this knows this, so, no BS, right? Oh, gotta love me. Yeah, legend in my own mind. But run your course. Perimeter first, and then we will relief this. So we're gonna start here. We have a full bobbin, okay? It's my undercarriage. And I have my tension set. And you'll notice I have little blue dots here, so I know where I'm at. And I'm threaded correctly. There is no obstructions. My thread is behind me, okay? When you walk into these projects, you make sure that you respect this machine. It'll make you rich. Or it'll make you poor if you don't pay attention. So, here we go going. You ready? So, I kept the plastic on the paper on the bottom just so I could manipulate it across my table. Notice how that, prior to this, I used this silicone spray. Silicone. I sprayed all the perimeters. And actually this under there, okay? Little tricks. You want no hindrances. You do not want anything to bind up, crunch up. you only have a big enough neck underneath this machine. So you make sure that everything is out of your way. When you go to sew, this is a big deal. When you go to, you spend the money on these machines and you give them a name, you love them up, and you get in your little trick in here. This is a big deal. Surround yourself with the beauty that makes you who you are. It'll make you better, and it will instill excellence at what you do. So little things like these, I know it might sound insignificant. I'm the king of beating a dead horse when it comes to making these videos, because I'm teaching you things to save you money. I'm teaching you things to help you navigate, okay? This is real. I'm getting better at these videos. Try this. This ain't easy. To stop what you're doing, what you already know, and share it with someone. But I think this is important. And I got some of you guys are watching me, and I bet you I haven't let you down. So moving on, I siliconed everything. And now what we're going to do is, like I said, prep is everything. Upholstery is quick. Prep is everything. We use the paper to do what? To slide it across, to manipulate our piece. And what are we doing? We're sewing a perimeter. So we take our plastic and get it out of our way so we don't sew it into, okay? We don't sew it into our piece. Make sure that we're still lined up. You've already chalked everything out. I told you to chalk it and then cut inside of your lines. We've already adjusted for the shrinkage. So what I like to do is, like I said, take my paper back. I've already siliconed my table, so look at that. Look how that slides. So I'm just always keep it in line. Bring it back. Okay. We have chosen a Tech 90, a gray, a slate gray. So knee foot up, come on in and drop your needle right on the thread. Forward, back tack. Did you get that? Forward, back tack. And take your time. Always look to your left. Because to your right is your manual knee foot and your adjustments for your stitch count and your knee foot lift. And then you're mindful of how your thread is flowing and your tensioners are going. So we are going to sew directly on top of this old stitch. And just walk slow. See how I'm going to grab this over here? Look how this moves. But never, ever move it unless you know that needle is in that fabric, okay? Because that will mess up your stitch count. These are crucial little things. Want to be an upholsterer? Well, you're more than that. You're an artist. An artist pay attention to detail. So we're cautious. We're slow, especially if you're unsure. Okay. But you can see everything. So let's just go slow and let the machine take it from you, but assist it a little bit with lift. You follow me? Get a little light down there. You see that? And if it's bunching up, pick it up and free it. See that? You got to work it all the time. It's not your friend at all. Before you know it, you'll have a big ball of something, especially if you're talking. That's why I was telling you, videos are not easy, but you guys need to know this. So I'm walking that stitch, okay? Boom. And then like a field like this is roughly, a yard and a quarter. Barely. Always go halfway with a field and then stop. Plant your needle. Make sure your needle's planted. It's in that fabric, okay? And then you can do whatever you want. You can move it around like this, okay? Plant that needle. Always get into that habit. Planting your needle. If you have to get up and move or go, answer the phone or whatever. Put another log on the fire if you're lucky. Plant your needle. And take advantage of things like this. See that right there? I just pulled that back because what's it doing? It's helping me. In this particular application, it's helping me. So be mindful of what you have. Don't discard anything. Any assistance that you can get. I mean, this is garbage, but it's how we're doing this. All right? So I hope that you appreciate the things that I'm sharing with you, because I don't want you to lose track. Because what you're doing is you're trying to do it yourself, is what I'm thinking. If you're watching this, you're trying to do it yourself. And so, all these, remember, okay. I know, I'll try not to be too bad. And then always stop and look. Look at that. That's still, everything lines up. And this, this is nothing, but keep it. Keep it. Don't rip it out of your way. Things like that. These are these little things that will help you later. Keep it if you don't got to. I mean, that's not in my way. That's not killing me. Now, see up here? See my old layout? Well, how about this? Let's just pull that forward. One little flip. That's a perfect example. What did that little flip do? That helps me not bind up, or something runs into something and it changes my stitch count, which is an aesthetic, which is what these people are paying for. So be mindful, have as much room, and the push is always to the left. Okay? So now this blanket up here, that rolls out for when I go to do my finish work. All right, when I'm stapling. And that right there, that's like that goes the whole length of the table. It's about due for another paint job. You've seen that video. I know I squirreled off. So, but everything, you want it to where it's just everything you need, nothing. All right, so before you unfriend me or whatever that's called, let the machine do the work. Follow that foot. Keep that foot in the middle of that seam, because what are we doing? We're not building a new frame. We are refurbishing this. That's all we're doing. We're keeping the old frame. We degreased it. We cleaned it. We took the old snaps off. They chose They chose gray. We marked everything accordingly with a regulator tool. Stabbed it and then dotted it with a permanent marker. Okay. Take your time. So this one here is our first perimeter. You rock your, this is old school. This isn't an automatic cutter. I don't just hit the brake and it goes tick, 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 and it's ready to sew again. I recommend, if you want to sew, you want old school. Knee foot. Manual. Everything manual. It will make you better. Now, if you're just doing widgets, if you will, and you're 13 years old and you're working in a Chinese sweatshop, well, I think an automatic cutter would help you. We're in America. I had to throw that in. I know that was that mean? I don't think that was mean, but these are associated with meanness. So, but not here at Spit and Text Upholstery. Come on, guys. Lighten up. Don't get too heavy on me. I'm simple, I promise. As you probably already noticed. So, we're locked in there. I'm sorry, but that was good. That was good. Okay. We have that perimeter, and if you'll notice, look here. I used the gray, okay, the slight gray that matches this, and I followed that seam. It is indecipherable, okay? You'll see I followed their stitch. And that's how you do it. Match the color. It's always white. If it's industry, it's white. It's always white. But over time, it becomes marred with dust and dirt and abrasion and sun beat, and it becomes kind of gray. But don't overthink it, especially if it's your boat. I mean, that's killer. That's passable. You know, you're good. So we're keeping our paper down. Now we're coming to the other side. Lift it up. No abrasion. And at this point, it doesn't matter too much. But we want to come to the other end. And we want to pull. Where are we at? We're perfect. Okay? So, that's what you check. Like in this, every application, it's different. The geometry, if you will, is different. Sometimes it's, you never know. But this one, this is the standard. It tapers down like this into a big wedge, and there's a square corner. It's almost always like this, because the zipper goes on top, and then the snaps go around here. And if you're a marine person, you know that. So we're pretty much done with this. Get that out of your way, because I've already siliconed the table. And if you do that, just to give you more ease, just around the edges. Okay. On your table, and always underneath your arm, always underneath your arm, and your foot, bam, and in front of you, always, because that's your biggest work field. Buy that stuff by the case. So we have our outside. We look at that. It lays. It's perfect. And again, remember from our second video. Look at this. I'll put my light up here. You see that gap here? That is the shrinkage that has occurred. And that's why they were like, we can hardly get this thing on anymore. Well, you adjust. You adjust. Know the medium that you're working with, and see how it behaves. See how that corner dives, or if there's damage, it became more damaged because of weathering. There was a split in the seat, and then it made it draw up even more. You have to add back to that. Okay? And if you have an identical mirror image left and right, use that other side. And know when to add a 1/4 inch. I'm the king of 1/4 inch. I'm the king of a 1/4 inch, because it never fails me. It just never fails me. And then if you're adding foam, that gives you a bigger density, more volume. And so, 3/16. You have to adjust for what is either lost or what you're adding. It changes the geometry. It changes the configuration of this particular application. So be mindful of those things, but don't get overwhelmed. It's a seat, it's a cushion, it's whatever. You're artists. We're children of God. Relax. You got this. Don't overthink things. So we got the outside, and now look at this. Look at the shape of this. So we lock that back end in, okay? And then we looked and seen, look at that, it lines up perfect. So in order to do that, you don't need much other than to drag your hand across it and to see where it lies. And you're good. Because we're cutting this top layer out. This is the real one. But you want the real one to go all the way to the bottom of the perimeter, because when we punch these holes in, those are our snaps. This is the trick. Okay, this is the money trick. This is what they're going to charge you $2,500 for. You with me? I actually know what I'm doing. I'm just not real good at videos, but I'm getting better. Sorry about the BS. You guys are never going to live that down. Okay, so what we do is you look at your geometry. Okay, it's laid out flat. I anchored it in. So just think about it. The smartest thing to do is to start on that end and walk this down. Bam. Because this is locked in. And this doesn't matter because this is where your zipper is. Okay, and then you're cutting this out after you sew this down. And when you cut this out, I'll show you that in a second. And then we go over the old stitch like we did the old stitch there. Okay, this is how to salvage things. This isn't a brand new installation. This is not a virginal, right off, bam, bam, I made all this stuff from scratch. This isn't what this is. I'm saving this man money because his stuff is still good. It's still got miles on it. You got rubber on the tires. Ain't no reason to throw them away. You know what I mean? Don't let no one fool you. And this might, like I said, this might just be a video to where I want this done. I can't do it myself, but I know what to say to these people. And this is for real. Whether it's thread. Anyway, so that's what we're doing. That's our choice. We're lined up perfectly. We have the brand new glass underneath, the old glass on top. We're only sewing the perimeter because we're going to remove this glass in just a second. It's going to be cool. I'm telling you. So, again, bring it up, lay it flat. Okay? Bring it up, lay it flat. You're manipulating this, okay? You don't want to lose it. So, the whole premise behind starting always is anything going to get in my way? No hindrances. So, again, here we go. I'm good over here. I got enough meat on the table to where it'll hold it up flat. I'm lined up flat. Look at that. Looking good. Looking good. Again, this is an old piece. Lift your knee foot up. Bring it down. Plant your needle. Bam. On the old stitch line. Can you see that? Can you see the old holes? All this dirt here, I cleaned most of it off with the degreaser, but that's going to be covered up with a 1/2 inch binding. So forward, back, back tack. We are at what? 3.5, and we are at what? 6 and 2. Okay. Now remember what I said. Before you go doing anything, you'll sew a little bit. Make sure that needle's planted. That needle is planted. And I like the stitch. We'll come back 1/4 inch. We've only went a couple. We're good. One nick. There you go. That works for me. Yep, we're good. And always check and always be mindful. Bring your light up. Always make sure you have a light underneath your neck or the throat of the machine. And then one up here. You with me? No, my teeth wait. Okay, so and it has a magnetic base. And anyway, I know I'm trying to be stupid once in a while, but follow that old stitch pattern. Let's get something done. I'll quit annoying you because actually that is BS. I need to do something. Okay. Don't go too fast. You don't want it to ripple. You don't want it to distort. So you put your hand down here. You pull it to the back. If you gotta go slow, go slow. Let the machine, the feed dogs on the bottom, let them pull. And if you have to grab it like here to manipulate it, to look at this. Look at this. See this? Now watch. Come down here. And you see those dots? That's the old stitch. So I'm keeping it flat so there's no ripples in the old frame. And then you just unlay it as you go. And if you have to, put your hand there to make sure that your pull is correct. And go slow. Don't just go running over something. Especially like this. This is weird. This isn't brand new. So you're going to want to make sure that it's flat. And you see how I'm feathering it out like that? You see how I'm doing that? Okay. And then we'll unload this, and then we'll pull this back. Look at that. And then we'll scooch it. Look at that. Look at that. And then see how it moves because of the silicone? In your fingers, you're going to be doing this. You're going to be doing that. I mean, when you're sewing, it's different. But it'll all lay flat. And once we get this sewn, I'm going to show you with this. A lot of times I do this. These two fingers, see that? I'll pull towards me because I know I'm gathering in this direction. And then this one is to flat, this one is to guide. And then see that? See how it moves? But never go too far into the field. At the very most, you have a half of an inch. But in this instance, you don't. You get a 1/4 inch. Yes, I know industry standard is a half of an inch, but in this application, when you're doing a 1-inch binding, it's not applicable. It does not, it's not the same. These jobs are different. They're all different. So be mindful of what you are doing. Sew allowances, yes. Yes, they are what they are. 1/2 of an inch, religiously, especially if you're doing top stitches and whatnot. But sometimes you have to get in where you fit in. You know, but don't compromise the piece. You'll know, your eye will tell you. I keep saying that. So, a lot of this lesson was manipulation, silicone, finger spacing, and following those holes. Okay, see? Now I'm look how I'm doing it now. See how that slides? I'm manipulating. I know there's nothing in my way. You want to follow those old holes. Always. And this stuff's bulletproof. So don't, it's not like you're cheating anyone. You're fixing it. You're fixing it for them. They already know that we're using the old stuff. And we cleaned it up. You know, not everybody's got $3,000 for 2 side windows, you know. Good grief. Anymore. Hard enough just to put gas in your car to go to the grocery store. Oh my God, did I get political? Yep. So anyway, boom, boom, boom. And then, like I said, in the middle of the field or the beginning, stop and see where you stand. See this? Look at that. We're good. Now we're sewing old onto new. And then we're going to cut the old out and leave the new. This is a good trick. You guys are going to love me. And I'm sure, I mean, I didn't reinvent the wheel. I'm sure there's plenty of you that have already done this. But you see how I'm working my fingers as I go? You know, don't dilly-dally around. Be aggressive. Don't be afraid to punch a staple. Don't be afraid to sew a knot. Run that sucker, right? You got it lined up. You know what your measurements are. Make it happen. Don't sit around like you're daft. Don't be afraid of the machine. Ever. You know, you got it. You cut it. You measured it. Sew it. Work it. Manipulate it as you go. Manipulate it to where it's flat. Now look behind there. See? Yeah. You're not building a spaceship to Mars. But what you are doing is you're putting new windows in your $60,000 boat. It's a big deal. You know. So, again, here's another, look. See up here on the end of my table? This is my roller that comes out when I do my finish work. So what's happening here? I'm going to hit it in just a second. So, gently fold it back. Again. plant your needle, and then what do we got? Whatever we want. See that? Don't ever lose track of what you're doing. Make sure that needle's in the table before you ever stand up, answer the phone, do anything, or try to adjust or contemplate what you're doing. You know what I mean? I know I'm beating a dead horse, and I'm almost done. Here we go. And, you know, this takes, you can't, okay. So we're going to stop at that. Plant my knee foot. Always remember to pull your string when you're doing manuals. Sink your needle into your deck. Put your string behind you. So now what we have is that. How much time do we have?
Well, you've been going for about 41 minutes.
Okay, so we're gonna have to end this video, and I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna do one more quick one. Okay, my name is Colt. This is Spit and Tax Upholstery. This is a marine window replacement. Okay, and an adjustment. We're keeping the frame, and I'm showing you how to relieve it and make it perfect. Saving money, cutting corners, but still quality. And you know, making the grade. So please like and subscribe. I'll see you around like a donut. Ha ha!